Will Hunting was a contradiction, a complex blend of raw talent and rough edges. A rough diamond hidden in plain sight, his brilliance masked by the everyday struggles of life. He called South Boston home, a place where loyalty and toughness were currency, and where every street corner held a story of survival. He spent his days scrubbing floors at MIT, the very institution that would become his unlikely battleground, a place where his intellect would clash with the expectations of society. At night he traded the mop for a beer, blending in with his friends at the local pub, where laughter and camaraderie were the order of the day. Will was one of them, yet so different, a silent observer in a sea of noise, his mind always working, always analyzing. Behind the facade of an ordinary 20-year-old, a mind of extraordinary brilliance simmered, waiting for the right moment to shine. He devoured books like oxygen, effortlessly absorbing knowledge that spanned history, philosophy, and mathematics, his thirst for learning insatiable. He possessed a gift, raw and undeniable, a talent that set him apart from everyone else, a beacon of potential in a world that often overlooked him. Life had dealt him a tough hand, but Will had an ace up his sleeve, his genius, a brilliance that could not be contained. Will's past was a tangled web of pain and neglect, a history that left deep scars on his soul. Abandoned as a child, he bounced between foster homes, carrying the scars of a childhood marred by abuse, each move adding another layer to his emotional armor. He learned to fight before he could read, his fists a shield against a world that seemed determined to break him, a world that never gave him a chance. He carried the weight of his past like a heavy coat, shielding himself from emotional intimacy, always keeping others at arm's length. Will was a fortress, his intellect both a weapon and a refuge, a place where he could retreat and find solace. His friends were his anchor, their camaraderie a lifeline in a sea of uncertainty, a reminder that he was not alone. They were his brothers, bound by loyalty forged in the crucible of their shared South Boston roots, a bond that could not be broken. They drank together, laughed together, and faced the world shoulder to shoulder, their unity a source of strength. They accepted Will for who he was, flaws and all, never questioning the intelligence that simmered beneath the surface, always supporting him. They were his constant, his reminder of a life where brilliance wasn't a burden but a badge of honor, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The mathematics department at MIT was a hallowed space, a sanctuary for some of the brightest minds on the planet. It was a place where intellect was revered, and the pursuit of knowledge was a daily ritual. Equations danced across blackboards, theorems were dissected with surgical precision, and the air crackled with intellectual energy. Every corner of the department buzzed with the hum of discovery and the thrill of academic pursuit. It was a world away from the gritty streets of South Boston, a world that Will observed from the periphery, his mop and bucket his tools of anonymity. He moved through the hallowed halls unnoticed, a silent observer in a realm of brilliance. He cleaned their classrooms, emptied their wastebaskets, and all the while, his mind absorbed the complex symbols and formulas that adorned their chalkboards. Each night as he scrubbed the floors, he secretly solved the problems in his head, his mind a sponge soaking up the knowledge that surrounded him. It was a silent education, a secret indulgence that fed his insatiable curiosity. The chalkboards were his textbooks, the equations his lessons, and the empty classrooms his sanctuary. One day, a particularly daunting problem appeared on a chalkboard outside Professor Lambeau's office. It was a problem designed to challenge even the most brilliant minds, a puzzle that demanded not just intelligence but creativity and insight. It was a challenge, a gauntlet thrown down to the best and brightest minds of MIT. The problem stood as a silent sentinel, daring anyone to solve it. Days turned into weeks, and the problem remained unsolved, a testament to its complexity. The chalkboard became a symbol of intellectual endurance, a reminder of the limits of human understanding. Then, one morning, Professor Lambeau arrived to find the solution neatly written on the chalkboard, the handwriting unfamiliar but undeniably elegant. It was a moment of revelation, a breakthrough that defied explanation. Intrigued and more than a little bewildered, he set out to uncover the identity of the mystery mathematician. Who could have solved such a complex problem with such apparent ease? The whispers started subtly, like a gentle breeze through the corridors of MIT. Students and faculty alike were abuzz with speculation, each trying to piece together the puzzle of the unknown solver. Who had solved the unsolvable? The question lingered in the air, a tantalizing mystery that captivated the entire department. Theories abounded, names were tossed around, but the mystery remained. Each new theory only added to the intrigue, deepening the enigma of the anonymous genius. Professor Lambeau, a man not easily deterred, refused to let the matter rest. He was determined to uncover the identity of the person who had outsmarted the best minds at MIT. He set a trap, a new problem, even more difficult than the first, hoping to lure the unknown genius into the open. This new problem was a masterpiece of complexity, designed to test the limits of human intellect. He knew that true brilliance couldn't be concealed forever, that the allure of the challenge would prove irresistible. The stage was set for a new chapter in the unfolding mystery, a test of wits that would reveal the hidden genius among them. Will, unable to resist the siren call of a mathematical puzzle, fell into Professor Lambeau's trap. He scribbled the solution to the new problem on the chalkboard late one night, his anonymity slipping away with every stroke of the chalk. He didn't see Professor Lambeau watching from the shadows, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. The professor watched as Will, the janitor, the boy from the wrong side of the tracks, revealed himself to be the mathematical prodigy he had been searching for. The confrontation was inevitable, a clash of worlds that would change Will's life forever. Professor Lambeau, a man of logic and reason, found himself face to face with raw, untamed genius. Will, wary and distrustful, saw in the professor a threat, a symbol of a world that had always rejected him. Lambeau saw in Will a diamond in the rough, a once-in-a-generation talent that deserved to be nurtured. He was determined to help Will harness his gift, to open doors that had always been closed to him. Will, however, was resistant. He was content with his life, with the familiar rhythms of South Boston and the unwavering loyalty of his friends. He saw no need for change, no desire to trade his comfortable existence for the uncertainties of academia. He was afraid of failure, afraid of success, afraid of what it would mean to embrace his true potential. He pushed back against Lambeau's attempts to help, his defiance a shield against the professor's well-intentioned but unwelcome intrusion. Section 4, Freedom's Price, Therapy and Equations. Fate, however, had other plans. A bar fight fueled by alcohol and old grudges landed Will in court, facing charges that threatened to derail his life. Professor Lambeau, recognizing an opportunity to help Will escape a future behind bars, struck a deal. He would use his influence to keep Will out of jail, but in return, Will had to agree to two conditions. First, he had to attend therapy, to confront the demons that haunted him. Second, he had to meet with Lambeau regularly to explore the boundless possibilities of his mathematical mind. Therapy was an alien concept to Will, a sign of weakness in a world where vulnerability was a liability. He approached it with skepticism and cynicism, his defenses firmly in place. He met with therapist after therapist, his sessions a battleground of wits and words. He used his intellect as a weapon, deflecting their questions, dissecting their theories, and refusing to let them penetrate the walls he had so carefully erected around his heart. His meetings with Professor Lambeau were equally contentious. Will chafed at the professor's attempts to guide him, to mold him into something he wasn't. He saw mathematics as a game, a puzzle to be solved, not a calling to be answered. He possessed a raw, intuitive understanding of numbers, a gift that allowed him to see patterns and connections that eluded even the most seasoned mathematicians. But his talent was untamed, undisciplined, a force of nature that threatened to consume him. Section 5, Dr. Maguire's Challenge. Enter Dr. Sean Maguire, a therapist as unorthodox as Will himself. Dr. Maguire wasn't your typical therapist. He had a unique approach that set him apart from the rest. A man who understood the language of the streets as well as the nuances of the human psyche, Sean recognized the pain that simmered beneath Will's tough exterior. He had a knack for seeing through the bravado and getting to the heart of the matter. He saw through Will's defenses, his sarcasm, and his intellectual posturing. Sean knew that these were just mechanisms Will used to protect himself from the world. He challenged Will, provoked him, and refused to let him hide behind his intellect. Sean's methods were direct and sometimes confrontational, but always with the intent of breaking down Will's barriers. He forced Will to confront his past, to acknowledge the pain that fueled his anger, and to recognize the fear that held him captive. Sean's goal was to help Will understand that his past didn't have to define his future. Their sessions were explosive, a volatile mix of anger, humor, and raw emotion. Each meeting was a battle of wills but also a step towards healing. Sean refused to treat Will with kid gloves, refusing to be intimidated by Will's intellect or his volatile temper. He knew that real progress required honesty and sometimes tough love. He pushed Will's buttons, challenged his assumptions, and forced him to confront the truth about himself. Sean's relentless approach was designed to make Will see beyond his own self-imposed limitations. He shared his own stories of loss and redemption, reminding Will that he wasn't alone in his pain. Sean's personal experiences added a layer of authenticity to his guidance. He chipped away at the walls Will had erected, slowly but surely earning his trust. It was a gradual process, but each breakthrough brought them closer. Sean recognized that Will's intellect was both a blessing and a curse. It was a double-edged sword that gave Will incredible insight but also kept him isolated. It allowed him to see the world with a clarity that most people could only dream of. But it also isolated him, setting him apart from those who couldn't keep up. This isolation was a barrier to forming meaningful connections. He challenged Will to use his gift for good, to make a difference in the world, to leave his mark on something bigger than himself. Sean believed that Will had the potential to change the world if he could harness his abilities for positive impact. He urged Will to open himself up to the possibility of love, to risk getting hurt in order to experience the joy of true connection. Sean wanted Will to understand that vulnerability was not a weakness, but a strength that could lead to profound personal growth.